Hey guys, it's Willie Sandry. Today I want to talk about how to center the plastic sub base on your router a non-traditional way. We've come up with a hardware solution so you'll never have to use one of these centering cones ever again. Stick around, we'll get into it. Well, I was just setting up my woodpecker's exact width dado jig and getting the router ready. And one of the first things you have to do is use a centering cone to center the sub base on your router. This jig relies on a guide bushing being centrally located right over the bit, and anytime you have that sort of situation, another example would be a dovetail jig. It's really important to have the sub base and the guide bushing centered over the bit. And so I was breaking out my centering cone, and it reminded me that I really don't like these things. Whether it's the small version for your trim router using a 1/4 inch post, or whether it's a larger 1/2 inch version centering cone, they're just kind of cumbersome. I've never enjoyed using those, so we're going to show you a way to swap out the screws in your plastic sub base so that every time you install this, if you install it a certain way, it'll automatically be centered, and we'll confirm. I'll show you that it works every time by using the traditional centering cone. But once you've swapped out the hardware in your router and confirmed that it works, you don't have to use the cone again. You can put that away, and the type of screws that you select for the sub base will automatically center that sub base for you. So these are the screws that came with the router, and I like to bust out my little sewing machine screwdriver for these little guys, but that's what they look like. They're just kind of a flat shoulder bolt, and real typical with the Torx head on them. And we're going to ditch those in favor of some conical screws. And so what we'll be using look like that. And just because of the little cone shape, they will act to self-center the jig, and it works really great. I've been using this technique for about 4.5 years now, and every time I've confirmed it with a centering cone, it's just been spot on. So you can see the normal amount of slop, just because the holes in the plastic sub base are a little bit larger than they need to be. And so what you do is start by loosely tightening one of the conical screws, then go adjacent to it, and then move on to another one and go opposite that. Okay, and then one more round of snugging around, and right there, you know you've got a centered base, and we'll confirm that with the centering jig. Okay, so with the centering cone installed, and we can just raise and lower the base through the normal router controls, and any way you turn that, you can see that the sub base is perfectly centered on the cone. And so there'd be no need to install or use this centering cone again. It's all perfectly self-centering with the new hardware. As much as anything, this is a call out to router manufacturers. I certainly think we can do better than the centering cone. It just boils down to the accuracy of the machining. In this CNC world, we ought to be able to have accuracy standards high enough that the aluminum base of the router will exactly match the plastic sub base of the router. Whether it's a system that would click into place or just screws with no slop in it, you could automatically have that centering of the sub base so you could get to work with your jigs. I'm excited to give this woodpecker's routing jig a try, but my bit doesn't get here till tomorrow. Well, if nothing else, we can get our guide bushing installed and be ready when the mail comes. At least everything's nice and centered. So there you go, quick and easy way to change out the screws in your sub base. Automatically centers the sub base so you never have to use a centering cone. Give it a try in your own shop. Thanks for watching.